For those of you that are new to the world of Alison Siebecker, she's a naturopathic doctor and co-founder of the SIBO Centre for Digestive Health in Portland, Oregon. Alison has specialised in SIBO since 2010 and is a widely recognised international expert, and I've recently heard her being called the SIBO Queen, which I think is truly fitting. Alison has a fantastic informative website called SIBOinfo.com, and I recommend you take a look if you haven't already done so. Good to see you. Hi, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. We really appreciate it. I know what an incredibly busy lady you are. You have a clinic, you're lecturing all over the world, you write widely, you have a fantastic website, you're starting to bring some SIBO training for your own online courses, and you're also writing a book. So how's that all going?
It's going like anyone's life, you know.
Yeah.
I think it would all be better if we slowed the pace and maybe focused on one thing at a time, and I'm not able to take my own advice on that.
Yeah, I have a little bit of that problem as well. It's busy, isn't it? But I mean, you're incredibly busy. So any idea of when you think your book might be ready? Just to give people a clue?
I was hoping by the end of this year, but I think it'll probably be early 2018.
Okay.
It just takes so much longer than you think. And then, like you said, I'm working on making, I teach a full day course on SIBO, and I'm working on getting that ready for online so anyone can access that at any time. Because I just think the more we can get people educated, both practitioners and patients, the better on this whole subject.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of confusion out there, and there's a lot of unknown. People are only just coming across it, even though you've been working with it since about 2010, I think.
Yeah.
But, you know, and also the research is evolving at such a fast pace now that you've got to keep on top of it to be able to know what to do, really. So, okay, well, one of the things, before we kind of delve into the different things about SIBO, one of the things I was wondering, what actually brought you to SIBO? What got you kind of fired up about it in the first place? I'm just curious.
Well, I think it's because I have it, and I've had digestive problems my whole life. Well, really since I guess I was about 5, and I think that's when I got SIBO. And I had, as before I ever got any medical training, just as a patient, you know, had tried to get help, and it was very frustrating. And eventually got the diagnosis of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which a lot of people with SIBO can say that they have that because it's just a conglomeration of symptoms. And so before we knew about SIBO, because now we know SIBO is a cause of a majority of cases of IBS. But before we knew about that, there's nothing to do really for IBS, not really, except help manage symptoms. It's very frustrating. And so anyway, then what happened was I found out about the term SIBO from one of my professors, who then became my teammate. We started working together on this subject, Dr. Sandberg Lewis. So he'd been my gastroenterology professor at medical school, and he was just writing a book, and he came across the term and just did a little bit of research and put it in his book. So I found the term because I was helping edit his book, and then I just went crazy. I just started reading all about it, and I correlated it with what I had read in the book Breaking the Vicious Cycle by Elaine Gottschall, because she was really describing that sort of scenario. And she uses the words, an overgrowth of bacteria in the small intestine. She was thinking that in her book, she was thinking that might explain why the specific carbohydrate diet worked for the people that the original creator, Dr. Haas, had used it on, and then the people that she was seeing. And I actually think she might have gotten that a bit wrong. I don't think that's the only and main reason that it worked for those people. But anyway, nonetheless, I saw that it was sort of the same condition she was talking about. And I just started doing all this research. And also, I had used the specific carbohydrate diet on myself. And it was the first treatment that really, really worked, was that diet. And I mean, within 24 hours, my pain was, pain was gone. So anyway, I'm going on and on, but the point is, because I knew that diet had helped me, and I knew that she was talking about SIBO, although she didn't use the words like that. So then when I finally had the terminology, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, I could now do PubMed and article searches, and then the world opened to me,
Amazing,
and I got I got so on fire, and I haven't really lost that fire, because the fire comes from all of my years of suffering and, all of my sleepless, painful nights and, and all of my struggles going to doctors without any help, and the doctors also not knowing, and then I became a doctor and I went through medical training and didn't receive what I needed because no one knew. So then I just became passionate to help anyone, even if they don't have access to a doctor who knows, even if they don't have money. And, how can they help themselves? They could do diet. They could buy some herbs, and then for doctors, I'm on this mission to get doctors trained in this condition. Especially it matters because IBS is the most common gastrointestinal disorder in the world. It affects up to 25% of every country. And when you now learn that at least 60%, or on average 60% of it is SIBO, then it puts some, weight behind my fire, my passion. It's not just my own individual crusade. It's worthy. It's a worthy endeavor.
Yeah, it's so out there. I think in the UK, an old statistic, this is quite a few years old now, we used to say 1 in 10 complaints, visits to the GP is for a digestive complaint. But I wonder if it's possibly grown as well, because it's just... You have to be careful, because I see a lot of patients just with digestive health and you think everybody in the world has it, but we know it's a huge amount of people, and I know that GPs' offices are inundated and their hands are tied with what they can do, because in the UK the NHS says this is what you're allowed to do and you can't do that, and I'm finding some GPs and some consultants are starting to open their eyes, whereas others are like, no, never heard of it. You get somebody taking a test result and the GP can't. The thing is, the GP can't act on it because of our NHS rules. So it's mega frustrating for people. Mega frustrating.
And what I think what we have to do is, if you do the sort of the grassroots, you get enough patients and doctors educated, they will force a change in the system collectively. Yes. And we have that same problem here. I think it's not as difficult as in the UK, but in the US, we struggle with all of this too, and the FDA not covering, insurance not covering things, and people just not knowing. So anyway, that's why all my efforts focus on pretty much on education, and why we're doing this, get the word out.
Fantastic, which is so helpful for people to actually to recognise that you understand the journey, you've been through it, but also the amount of knowledge you've got and the research, because I know you're continually researching. We just talked about a paper, which is amazing, and then you share it willingly and openly on your SIBO Info website, which is just fantastic. Such a special thing to do. And I should mention that people, if they visit it, you also have a button for people to donate, and it would be lovely if people did, because the hours you must have put into that is
That's incredible. So sweet for you to say.
Yeah, but there is so much work on that site. I have a few websites. Go on.
What I mainly use that donations for is to send my newsletter. So I send a newsletter 4 times a year, and it costs me money to send it out. So I pretty much just use the donations to pay to send out the newsletter. And in the newsletter, I just let people know of any courses that are coming up, and then all the research that's just come out within the last 3 months. And then I usually write an update, or if there's anything important that has just been discovered, I'll let people know if there's a new way to interpret breath tests, that sort of thing. So then of course that means you go ahead and join that newsletter. It's not a marketing blog. It's just to keep you updated on the condition.
The newsletter is brilliant. But I will have to say, we have a little sound thing. Has it sorted itself
We're
out?
good. We're good.
We're good. Okay. But the newsletter, I obviously receive it, and it's like, there's a lot to read. We need to look at this. We need to read that. So it's packed. It's not just a few words. There's a lot of information there for people, which is just fab. I love it. Personally, I love it.
Well, thanks for talking about it all. It makes me feel great, and I'm glad it's helping people. And the website is just always there, full of information for people.
Which is just fantastic. And practitioners appreciate it, and I actually ask some of my clients, can you go and look at that? Or sometimes I link them, can you just look at that page where Alison's talked about it? And it's just a wealth of information, hugely helpful. So thank you for all that time. So Just to very shortly summarise, SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So that's too much bacteria in the small intestines. Doesn't necessarily have to be bad bacteria, it can be good bacteria, but it's just in the wrong place. Should be in the colon. So the overgrowth causes a lot of the symptoms of SIBO, which you can read about on Alison's website or possibly my SIBO SmartSibo test website. Hi, my name is Emma Wells and I'm a nutritional therapist with over 15 years experience specialising in digestive disorders and digestive testing. I'm currently studying functional medicine, having completed my digestive module last year, and I am the founder of Smart Nutrition, SmartSibo Test and IBS and SIBO clinics.